this section of the holidays tutorials, we're going to be dealing with the party invitations and the RSVPs and the attended lists. So let's go over to my holidays form here for me. And so we're going to be talking about this area right here. So let me just go ahead and let's make a record here, 2014, and we're going to pick my authentic. And I'm just going to leave all this. We've already talked about this. We're just going to deal with party invites. Now, again, as we mentioned many times before, I can go ahead and say yes and no on the t-shirts and jackets, and I can go ahead and do a gift if, say, it's the employee package, okay? And then I can set my party invitation. Now, I have two choices, or three choices. No, of course. And then I have yes and yes plus one. So if you're going to send out a plus one invitation, then their invitation is going to say, my invitation would say, Philip Jaffe and guest. Right? And it will count up according to, in other words, I'll get counted as two people in the totals of how many people are invited to the party if I select yes plus one, and I would get counted as one person, like so. Now the RSVP is the same options when if somebody RSVPs to the party that they're not going to be able to attend, then they would say no. And once you get that RSVP back, you can set a no there. If I've sent out an invitation as just a single invitation, you're going to get an RSVP back, and you can say yes, they're coming. But what happens if, I send out a yes plus one? Then that person may say, you know what, yes, me and a guest are coming to the party, and once you get that RSVP from them, you can put that in. And so in this column, we'll get a total, of how many people we're expecting to attend. This one is how many invitations were sent out. This would be how many we are expecting. And it may be that that person decides to RSVP and say, yes, I'm coming, but I can't bring a guest, or I'm not bringing a guest. And so you could just set that to yes. So in this case, we would say, we sent out two invitations. We're only expecting one person to attend from this record. And then when people check in at the party, and we'll get into this in the reporting at the other end, you may want to check them off. Depending on how secure your party is from year to year, you may have somebody at the door that's checking invitations, or just seeing how many people show up for reporting's sake. You need to know how many people actually showed up. So when a person arrives at the party, you can say how check them off the list. And so say he got an invitation for yes plus one, he RSVP'd that only he is coming, but at the last minute his guest came, and so actually yes plus one attended. So you have these three different places to track those scenarios. Alright, I'm going to erase this for the moment. Alright, now I want to point out that you ought to remember there's no real safeguard in here, and maybe in a future update of the software I can put this in, but there's not really time to do it this year. But what would happen if I also, as my ABC president, I have a record put in there for me as ABC president, and maybe I'm getting a gift at level 1 or whatever. And so now what happens here? Well, you don't want to send me an invitation twice. For one thing, you just you don't want that sort of awkward situation where a person gets double invitations. And you also don't want to do this and say, oh, it's the same person and we're sending him that party invite, so I'm going to put yes plus one here as well. Well, what that's going to do is it's going to screw things up, because now we're going to have a list down here that says we're expecting 4 people. And when you go to print out your invitations, it's going to send an invitation to Philip Jaffe and guest at ABC Family street address, and another Philip Jaffe and guest to my address at this company, Authentic Entertainment. Okay, so when you're looking from the perspective of a single person's contact and you're on this page, it's real easy to see, because you have all of your 2000, and say I had some other things from 2013 and 2012, and they were all listed in here as well. Well, when you go to do all of this, and so this may say yes, and this may say no, right? And this can get confusing, so it might be a good idea to go ahead and filter. And you see what happened here? I had to kind of click out of this. It needed a second to sort of reset itself. But this filter by year list builds itself based on what years have been so far selected in this window. So now I have 3 choices here, and so I want to filter out just the 2014s here. So from this perspective, we can see everything at a glance, and we can see easily, how to make sure that we're only giving the invitation out one time, no matter how many 2014 holiday records Philip Jaffe happens to have. And so I can easily see that here and say I'm going to give the invitation or send the invitation out to Philip Jaffe as the database manager, and since he's already got that, I'm not going to put it here. Now at this point I wanted to kind of introduce you to a different area that we haven't looked at before in terms of the holiday module, and that's when we're looking at the holiday data from the perspective of a certain company. So if I click over here on companies and I'm on authentic, it's going to, because I was already in the holiday form on the contact side, it's assuming that I'm working in contacts, and so it jumps me right to this holidays form over here. But you can see in the directory I'm looking at every single contact thus far that's been entered that has a record associated with it, a history at authentic, and here are my 2 as database and segment producer. So only people are going to show up from the holidays perspective, or the holidays tab from the company's perspective, that have actually have a record in the holidays table. And you can see right now I'm filtering by 2014, but I can show all by clicking this little X, and now you can see that 2012, 2013, 2014, that all of my stuff is showing up here. So let's assume we're still filtering by 2014, and I've got a list of people here, and I see that I've already got an invitation, so I'm good, right? Well, what happens if I'm working with that ABC family company, right? And I've got a record there as well. Let's do the find. Alright, and so you can see from the directory point of view all the people that work at ABC Family, and here I am, and when I go to holidays, there's that gift level 1, this holiday record, and there's no invite there. So if I'm looking at a whole list of holiday records for a given year from ABC Family, and I'm trying to decide who's going to get an invitation at ABC Family, I'm going to say, yeah, we want to send Philip Jaffe, the president, an invitation, and oh, there's nothing here, so let's go ahead and mark that as yes +1. Well, we have made a mistake, because now I've got, if we go back over to my contacts form, now we've got yes +1 and yes +1. So just understand that when you're in the company's area, and that took me to authentic, because that's my active company. So let's jump back over to ABC Family. Sorry, another quick way to do that is to come to my record, find this one, click on ABC Family, and then go over to holidays. There we go. That way I didn't have to do the manual find. You'll find, by the way, a whole bunch of these little link buttons that'll help you jump around the system, and I can't point them all out to you, but you'll discover them. And they are sort of contextually designed, so depending on where you are starting from determines where this button will take you to. And a lot of times these little tip tools will show up, go to Philip Jaffe's contact page, etc. Alright, so let's not get off topic here. So that being said, when you are, if you can't see a person's entire holiday history from the perspective of a single company, because that person may have multiple gift or holiday entries or invitations for a given year at multiple companies. And when you're looking filtered through just a single company, you're only going to see the stuff that's associated with this person at this company. So how do we get around that? Well, you may have noticed around the holiday section there is this little green plus button. And this is one of many places where I'll show you how this works, and we'll get into it much more in the final, or you know how I say final and then it's not final, but in the section about the fire drill that we talked about earlier. But what this button does is it just gives you a shortcut back over to the perspective of from the contact's single perspective, and now you can see that entire contact's history. Now it's filtered by 2014 right now, but I can say all years, and I'll see every single thing that contact has ever gotten. So if I wanted to be dealing with 2014, I can look at that whole contact, even though I'm currently in the ABC family company, and I'm only looking in this report just at what is related to this company. By clicking this button, I can get a shortcut to Philip Jaffe's entire holiday history. And now I can see, filtered by 2014, that I also have something going on here with Authentic Entertainment, and I've already got a party invitation there, so I should get rid of this. And so I'm going to hit the escape and the delete key. Or I could just say no in this, and so I know I'm not sending an invitation to Philip Jaffe here, but I am sending one there. And so when I close this, you see it's already been updated here to no. Now, you may want to manage from time to time when you're deciding to add or give gifts. You may want to be managing this from the company's area. You may want to take an entire company at one kind of in one swoop and deal with all the people at that company and decide what gifts you're giving to that company. And so you may want to work with the holidays area in the company's form. It may actually help if you're having a meeting with Lauren or Tom, or Tom says, show me all the gifts I'm giving to just the people at ABC Family. Well, you can do that by just doing a find for ABC Family in companies and going over to holidays. And now let's say Tom says, okay, but I want to add, let's find somebody here. I want to add a gift for Brooke Bowman. Well, I'm sitting over here in holidays. How do I add Brooke Bowman here? I can't, because from this perspective, I'm looking just at the gifts that have already been entered in the holiday table. There's no way to add Brooke from here because I'm not on Brooke's record to tell it to do that. But I can from this directories page. If I go over to Brooke, I could go to Brooke's record, go to holidays, and do my adding here. Or I could just stay over in the company side of things, and where it says Brooke here, I can click this little green button here. Now these green buttons are only going to show up again if you are logged in as an authentic executive assistant. A standard user will not have access to these because the holiday section is just for you guys. But here I can push this button and I can get Brooke. And by the way, once this window is open, I can click the button and start walking through all the different people. You see I just landed on mine and there's some stuff there. And here's Brooke. And now I can do just like I would from the contact side of things. I can add, and we still have to pick the company. And let's just say we're going to send him an invitation. And we say close. And now when I come back over to holidays, there's Brooke Bowman. Okay, so that is how you, a little introduction to the green buttons, and that is how you sort of manage dealing with the invitations and the RSVPs and the attended area. And I just wanted to give you sort of an introduction to the how to manage this stuff from the company's side of things. And I'm just going to get rid right now of that Brooke Bowman so I don't mess up your actual data. So I'm just going to hit the X button here and delete that and close that window. All right. In the next section, I will deal with the reporting and the summary side of how we send out a list. We generate a final summary of all the invitations, how we print labels for sending out invitations, and how we make those sort of checklist reports on the night of the party so that someone at the door can check those things off. All right, I'll be back in a sec and we'll talk a bit more.